In this episode, I'd just like to talk about the role of the deposit when you are buying a property. Quite often we'll be asked the question by buyers as well as vendors as to how much deposit do I have to pay, or how much deposit can I demand be paid. Now, the whole purpose of a deposit really is that it's a sign of bona fides by the buyer to the vendor that I mean business. I'm prepared to put a deposit down on this property because I'm serious about buying it. So in some ways it can be viewed that the size of that deposit may dictate the bona fides of the buyer, how serious they are. And you can use the example of a case where if, as a vendor, you were given two contracts, they're both pretty much the same. One has a deposit of $100, one has a deposit of $5,000. Which would you prefer? Obviously the one with the $5,000, that buyer's saying, look, I'm serious about this and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and here's $5,000. The other thing about deposits in Queensland, however, is that the deposit can't exceed 10% of the purchase price. We've had sometimes cases where an overzealous vendor has wanted 15 or 20% deposit paid, which you can't do without changing the whole form of the contract. The amount of the deposit here in Queensland shouldn't exceed 10%. But as to whether it's $1 or $10,000, it's a matter for negotiation. In fact, there's no need for a deposit to be paid at all. That's another misnomer that people think, well, a deposit's got to be paid. Technically it doesn't, but I get back to my original point. It's a sign of bona fides from the buyer that he's serious about what he wants to do. The other thing about a deposit, of course, from a vendor's point of view, it gives him some comfort and some protection, because in the event that the buyer doesn't do what he says he's going to do under the contract, there are certain circumstances where the buyer may be entitled to forfeit that deposit, and they can take that deposit as compensation for the effort and the time and expense that they've been put to. So obviously from a vendor's point of view, the greater that amount of deposit, well then in the event that it's to be forfeited, the more he gets compensated. So the role of the deposit, it's an important part in the negotiating and in the purchase process. So I hope that's been of assistance to you. Thank you.